Hi there, Scott. ROCKFILE, back with another podcast for you. Going to be talking about AMC Theaters' new decision to charge more for the better seats. As with a lot of things in modern life, I think sometimes these companies release these statements and then backtrack or follow through or don't follow through, whatever, just to see how things go. I think we go back to things like New Coke, and testing the waters on things. AMC Theaters announced the other day that they were going to charge more for the good seats and charge less for the bad seats. I did not see a breakdown of what these prices are. I can't imagine it's a radical difference. Would it be more than $1 to sit in one seat or another in a movie theater? And if it is, why? I saw Elijah Wood immediately came out and said this kind of, the movie theater was always a democratic place where all the seats were even, and now you're going to separate people based on income. I think that's going a bit far. I think what this is a last-ditch effort of a movie theater trying to save its neck because it's going under. There's many reasons why movie theaters are having a hard time these days. I love the movie theater experience, but even I go less than I used to go. And it's not the cost. That's what it is for a lot of people. They can't afford the concessions. You might be able to afford the ticket, but the concessions are going to be even more than the ticket was because that's how the movie company makes. What happened over the years, as I've been going to movies since I was a kid, is the Hollywood box office totals have been higher in percentage to where these days the first couple of weeks are 100%. The local theater gets nothing off Wakanda Forever or the new Ant-Man movie. Not for the first week or two. Nothing. They get no box office receipts from the ticket you buy. 100% of that goes back to Marvel and Disney and the distributors and all that. Then as the weeks go on, the longer it plays, the percentage for the box office of the local theater goes up. Now, the big companies like AMC and such can negotiate better deals, but some of the smaller companies cannot, like the ones we have here on the peninsula. Right? So this is already becoming a problem of distributing movies, ticket prices versus how much things cost. I don't know all the reasons for why people are not going. Streaming's easier, sure, but I don't stream a whole lot of stuff, so that's not my reason. For me, there are less screens here, so there are less things playing when I'm in the mood to go see a movie, right? There have been a couple of times in the last year and a half that I've lived here in Alaska that I've thought about going to the movies this week, but there was nothing I really wanted to see this week. I'd either already seen one or two things, or there was nothing literally playing that I wanted to see because we didn't have enough screens to be showing every single thing out there. Sometimes I'm like, we never got everything everywhere all at once. I would have gone to the theater to see that anytime. I was so stoked for that movie, bought it on 4K the moment it came out. But why do people not go to the theaters as much? Convenience is part of it, the whole streaming thing, or just the fact that it's just easier to stay home? The experience of going to the theater changed in the 90s and the 21st century with people bringing their phones with them, people having entire conversations, eating dinner. I think people get used to watching stuff at home and then think that they can just stop and pause and talk about things, but then they go to the movie theater and forget they're not at home. I saw that a lot. I was in the AMC theater program where I paid $21.99 a month and I could go see 12 movies every month. 3 movies a week, 12 a month for $21.95. Didn't cost me anything else. So if I went to all of them, that was less than $2 a movie. And a lot of months I did go see 12. I'd go see things a second time, or I'd go see things I wouldn't have paid to see. And that overall made my monthly bill of going to see movies pretty cheap. Even if I only went to see 4 or 5 movies in a month, it was still much cheaper than buying matinee seats or whatever. So I was going to a lot of movies, and that brought me back to the theater. Why don't more movie companies do that? Well, it's hard with that box office we talked about earlier. But those are the kind of things that movie theaters need to do to get people to come back. You can't keep raising the price of the tickets. You can't keep raising the price of the concessions and not give us a better experience. Here in Kenai, one theater is locally owned. One is a small chain in the upper Midwest, I guess. Neither are giants by any stretch of the imagination. They're not AMCs. They're not Regals. But they do a good job. They have decent projectors with good bulbs, nice projection, good surround sound. The concessions are good. The places are comfortable. I have no complaints about the theaters here. That we don't have a Dolby Cinema, we don't have an IMAX, we don't have anything that quite at that extravagance. But the movie experience I've had on the movies I've gone to see in the year and a half I've been here have been fine, if not better than fine. B+ to A-, really. Really good surround sound. The screen's been bright. There's not been a lot of people. I've gone to see a few things that were crowded. I saw Top Gun Maverick in a crowded place. I saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in a crowded theater. And people were more, there were a few people on phones and stuff, but it's not as much as the lower 48. People here seem to put things away and enjoy the film, which I really respected. Not everybody. There was a few phones that came out, but, it's not perfect. So I've enjoyed the experience and all, but that gets back to why are people not going? Well, to me, it's still a social thing. If a group of people want to go see a movie, that's a great thing. For me and a date to go see a movie, that's always a viable thing, as long as there's something playing. And right now, there's probably 3 or 4 things I would go to the theater to see, but I'm not aching to go because I know they'll be on 4K in the near future or whatever. The last few movies that were I always go see Marvel movies in the theater because I don't want spoilers. I went and saw Top Gun because I knew visually it would just not be the same at home, and it's not. It was much better in the theater. Big special effects films, big event films, definitely theater. Comedies sometimes, horror movies for sure. Romantic comedies and the dramas and stuff like that, that's usually a home thing. So it depends on what's playing this week. I'm dying to see Ant-Man. I'll be going Thursday night when it opens. There's a few other movies coming out. I'm dying to see John Wick 4, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. There's a few movies. We joked back in the day when they said everything would be a sequel, but they knew it back in The Simpsons and all the Saturday morning cartoons that guessed in the 21st century we'd be going to see Scream 7 and stuff like that. It's happening. It's actually happening. Star Wars is up to how many now? They've stopped numbering them because it's too confusing. Anyway. Bring us back to the theaters with deals. With a deal that if I go more often, it's cheaper. Isn't that what you really want? Instead of jacking up the prices, let's keep the prices where they are and give us more value for that. Want to police the theaters and keep the noise levels to a minimum. I saw some stories about this during COVID, and they were complaining, the theaters that were open didn't want to kick people out because they'd lose the people. You know what? I'm fine with, I know you're not for your business model, but I'm fine with losing a few rude people out of the movie theater. If they don't want to come back to your theater, great. Maybe that'll leave a seat open for somebody who will be quiet and watch the movie. I don't want to sound like a curmudgeon, but honestly, as much as we pay for movies in the theater these days, shut up. I paid a lot of money to sit here and watch this for 2 hours. You can't be quiet for 2 hours? Go take the phone call outside. Go leave. Go do something. If you didn't want to be here, why are you here? I remember as a kid, movies were, it was $3 to get, $2 to get in a matinee, $4 on a Tuesday, and $5 regularly. Here in the Kenai Peninsula, I pay about $8. That's still not expensive. In Florida, I was paying $13+. Okay, and now put concessions on top of that. We're talking at least a $30 evening, and you're going to talk through it on your phone? Really? Sorry, I paid to watch this movie. I'm going to throw popcorn at you if you do that, with lots of butter on it. Anyway, bring us back to the theater with a better experience. I want things I can't get at home. Look, 3D TVs went away, so show 3D movies. But don't charge me an arm and a leg to see them. Here, we do get some 3D movies. They're not showing Ant-Man in 3D, but they did show Avatar in 3D, so that's a plus. I'm not big into 3D, but that's one way you bring us back because that's something we can't get elsewhere. And if Hollywood makes a 3D movie that we need to see in 3D, we will go see it in 3D. That's what happened to the first Avatar. It sold so many 3D TV sets. We don't even make 3D TV sets anymore. Eventually, we'll get to 3D without glasses. Once we've perfected that, I think 3D will come back. But other things. Do a rewards club. Do a, see 12 movies a month for this amount of money. Cut it in half, 6 movies a month for this amount of money. Make it a deal so that it doesn't cost me like it does. Because with that deal going on, I could literally, I've got some time this afternoon. Oh, look, there's a movie starting at 4:30. I can make that. I click a button on the app. The ticket's reserved. I get there. I show my app. I walk in. I watch the movie. I leave 2 hours later. It was a wonderful experience. That AMC Plus membership, whatever, for $21, that was wonderful. I could just pick a movie and go do it. It was kind of like, having infinite Redbox. Just Go rent whatever you want. Go see it. But I could go sit in the theater. I didn't have to buy any concessions. I didn't have to stand in line. I showed my app. I walked in. I sat and watched the movie. And I'd pay a monthly fee to be able to just do that. That was a wonderful thing. They're not really, I don't think, nobody else is doing it. I don't think AMC's doing it anymore. You're going to have to do things like that in movie theaters to bring us back. But charging more for the seats in the middle and less for the seats on the end, I don't think a whole lot of people are going to care if they have to pay an extra $1 to sit in the middle. I think it's stupid. If you want to make extra money, there are other ways to do it. Upgrade the food. AMC is doing a lot with food. They had macaroni and cheese bowls with ground beef or bacon. They had some of their theaters had a restaurant built into it. They had upgraded the food to something beyond popcorn and hot dogs, and it was good. The food was edible. I paid a little bit more for my concessions, but I ate dinner while I watched The Lighthouse or whatever, you know? It was an interesting experience. Provide those. How about cinema and draft houses? Wouldn't those do well these days? Don't get me started on a cinema and cannabis house. Anyway, there are many things they can do. Do special nights. Do a night where it's all, it's all adults. Do a night that's all ages. Do some special things like roller skating rinks did before most of them closed, and putt-putt golf places did right before they closed. Do some creative things to see if you can bring people back. Make it an evening. Make people want to go spend. Because if it's just the movie, we're going to get that in like 2 months on the streaming service, maybe less. Last year and the year before, we were getting things the same time in the theater. You got to give me another reason to go to the theater then. Am I going to get an experience in the theater I don't get at home? Well, most people don't have the surround sound that like I have at home. I've got Dolby Atmos at home. I get the theater experience when I watch a movie at home. Most people don't have that. They usually have 2 speakers, a sound bar or whatever. And if you're into sound, then go to the speaker, push the surround sound. Push that you have state-of-the-art sound. I do the commercials for one of the theaters here, and we have started doing, this is how you watch movies. You don't watch movies at home. That's not the same thing. You go to the theater, you buy that popcorn, and you sit there, and you get engulfed in that world for 2 hours. That's the experience, and people are losing it because their parents aren't taking the kids as much anymore. That was my birthday thing, dinner and a movie. That growing up, I got to pick the movie and I got to pick the restaurant. That was a big deal for me. I was an only child. We were a threesome. I could bring a friend when I got older, but that was my, and so that's all, still to this day as an adult male. I like dinner and a movie on my birthday. I'm just like going to the movies. Anyway, it's still an experience for me, and I get excited when the lights dim and the movie starts. And I know a lot of people don't look at movies that way anymore, but it's probably because they haven't been to the theater in a while. There's something exciting about that anticipation. There's something exciting about it playing out, and you're in a room that you're not familiar with. And there's other people in the room watching it with you and all having the same experience. It's a shared experience. It's like being at a concert to a certain extent. Concerts play better when everybody's into it. Movies play better when everybody's into it. I hate being in a room with somebody and they're not paying attention in the movie. It takes me out of the experience. It drives me nuts. But I digress. Movie theaters have to bring us back, and I know they have to make money. Well, there's ways to do it, but charging more for the seats in the middle than you do on the seats in the back and the front and the end, that just doesn't make sense to me. That's silly and splitting hairs and not what you need to do, AMC. You're barking in the wrong direction. Go back the other way. You were doing so well with some other things. A bit of a ramble, but I love movies, and I don't want to see them disappear, and I see this as another nail in the coffin. I hope it's not. I hope I'm proven wrong. Go to a movie this weekend. Scott Hamilton, I'm ROCKFILE. Thanks for taking time out of your day to listen to a podcast from me. I've got more on the way, so have a spectacular day. Thank you so much. And again, go to the movies. Go see a movie.